Good morning, and once again looking at facing evil, particularly looking at how Jesus faced evil during his temptation in the wilderness. I'm going to start by reading Matthew's Gospel chapter 4, starting at verse 8. Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. All this I will give you, he said, if you will bow down and worship me. Jesus said to him, Away from me, Satan, for it is written, Worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Then the devil left him, and angels came and attended him. So this is the third temptation, and it's a bit different. The first two temptations were helpful suggestions from Satan, suggesting ways in which Jesus might make himself some food and begin his ministry. But the third temptation, in a way, is more obvious, because the devil is offering Jesus a bargain, a transaction. Like the President of the USA, he believes in the art of the deal, and he's offering Jesus a deal where both sides do what the other wants, and presumably he would present this as a win-win situation. What Jesus has to do is prostrate himself before Satan and worship him. The NIV says, if you will bow down and worship me. I think the King James says fall down. The idea is of prostration anyway. So Jesus is to do two things for Satan. He is to prostrate himself before Satan and offer Satan his worship. What Satan is offering is power and glory. All of the power of the earthly kingdoms and all of the glory. Again, the NIV uses the word splendor, which is just as good. The splendor and the authority of all of the power structures of the human world and all the honor that they attract. So if Jesus accepts the bargain, he will be subordinate to Satan, but he will be superior to all the kings and rulers of the world. Why should that be attractive to the Son of God? I think the main attraction is that it's a massive shortcut. Jesus can immediately start reforming the world along better lines. He can begin shaping the whole human universe into his own will and image. It would be the greatest reformation of the world that has ever been seen, and the greatest reformation of religion that has ever been seen. The very idea of being a reformer, the idea of reformation, is that you take the power structures as they are and you use those power structures, you take command of them, and you make the world a better place. And that's what Jesus is being offered here. Not simply the selfish idea of honor and glory, but the glory of doing good. And if Jesus says yes, he will become the greatest reformer the world has ever seen. Instant glory. And the wise and just rule of Jesus will be famed and praised forever. It's a fact, isn't it, that most human rulers waste their capital. They squander the glory of their position by abusing their power. Jesus isn't going to do that. A man of Jesus' quality would enhance his glory with every day that he ruled. And it will be relatively pain-free for Jesus. Of course, there is the humiliation of prostrating himself before the devil. Jesus will forever be second in command and second in status to Satan. But Jesus is a humble man. For 30 years he's been subject to his family, to the ignorant rabbis in the synagogues, and to the arrogant Romans, the imperial conquerors. And Jesus has accepted all that with humility. He knew that he was the Holy One of God, but he put up with all of that because Jesus was very good at humility. So that's all that's required, a little humiliation, a little prostration, a little bending of the knee, and all the possibilities lay ahead of him. So why does Jesus say no? Because for Jesus it seems that there is something more important than anything else. For Jesus there is something more important than doing good. Something more important than improving the woeful lot of humanity. For him there is something more important than being loved or being appreciated. Jesus is not prepared to do anything to save the world. Now every humanist on earth would accept this bargain, wouldn't they? Anyone who was simply interested in the well-being of humanity would take the devil's bargain and shake hands on this deal. But Jesus is not a humanist. Jesus exists to do his Father's will. And that's his priority. Jesus chooses to serve God, and not just serve God, he chooses to serve God alone. Only God will he serve. That's so different from most of us. We will certainly tip our hats to God. We will certainly give God his due. But there is something in Jesus here which is simply inflexible. When it comes to worship, no bargain is possible. Jesus chooses to serve God alone. He quotes Deuteronomy again because that was what Israel was meant to learn in the desert. That you do not serve God by serving man. You do not serve God by serving yourself. You serve God and him alone and no other gods. Now in most areas, of course, Jesus was surprisingly broad-minded. He was far too broad-minded for all his religious critics. But in this matter, he's not broad-minded at all. He will not budge. No bargain is possible. Jesus was very narrow-minded when it came to the matter of worship. Evil can offer us a good deal. Evil can offer us a few interesting bargains, make some surprising offers. But sometimes the right thing to do is to have no flexibility, not to discuss the details of the deal. Our business is to say no. And every failure in the first 11 chapters of Genesis, you know, that progress of evil, which we looked at over 4 different days. Every one of those failures, in the end, is a failure to worship God. Whenever the desire for honour is more important, or the desire for status, the desire for pleasure, or the desire for safety, all of them can tempt us to do a deal with evil. Even the desire to do good, the desire to be significant, can trap us into one of these bad deals. The first commandment is that we shall have no other gods. Not just only worship God, we should have no other gods. And even loving our neighbour must never contradict loving God. So Jesus was right. He refused the deal. He turned the offer down. He resisted temptation and he defeated evil. And we need that same firmness. We need to learn to serve God and to serve him alone. Well, that's my thought for the day. I hope it helps, and that challenge to face evil and overcome it is there for all of us. Bye for now.